The news that concerns you.
This is Dream 92.5 News.
Good afternoon and welcome to the news at noon on 92.5 Enugu's Dream FM. My name is Alex Ogbodo.
And I am Jude Dawan.
Guests on Dream FM's flagship program, Political Voices, have called on all stakeholders to exhaust all lawful avenues of dialogue to avoid a further escalation of an already tense situation in the country. A former secretary to the Ebonyi State Government, Professor Bernard Odo, called on the youth to take advantage of the electoral process as a sure means of entrenching purposeful and responsive leadership.
Political process is key in every nation. Thank God we have democracy. So the advantage of change of strategy is that it will save further loss of lives and limbs of the young people from bullet of overzealous and insensitive killers, and enable them easily install the type of government and leaders they want going forward. So the way things are now, I think the young people should get involved in the political process. The choice of who becomes our leaders going forward is important. If we don't participate and make critical decisions about who takes the future of this country and the future of our states, the mess will go on.
Reacting to the speech by President Muhammadu Buhari, constitutional lawyer and former lawmaker Honorable Mwabe Zogu said he had expected more.
I had expected Mr. President to empathize with the persons, the families that lost their loved ones. I had expected the hope from Mr. President. I had also expected some kind of trust. That is, that things from Mr. President to enable Nigerians to trust the president, that all the complaints of the NSAS protesters were going to be addressed.
On his part, public affairs analyst Dr. Dele Maxwell Ugwai called for constitutional reforms as a sure way of bringing about constitutional democracy in Nigeria.
First and foremost, we have representative democracy in Nigeria. That is, we have elected people who represent us at various assemblies, state assemblies, national assemblies, and at federal level we have bicameral legislature, which is a Senate and House of Representatives. People can begin to collate the grievances from their constituency. We have a fundamentally flawed constitution.
Human rights lawyer Barrister Nadimo Fokansi and Dr. Odaze, in separate contributions, called on the youth to be peaceful and shun further protests to give the government a chance to respond effectively to their demands.
And moving to Ebonyi State, where the Governor David Umahi has banned the existence of the Academic Staff Union in universities and the Non-Academic Staff Union, among others, at the Ebonyi State University in Abakaliki. Umahi, after meeting with the leadership of the unions on Thursday, said this is to ensure that the activities of academic and non-academic unions do not negatively affect the resumption of universities in the state. Following these developments, the only body currently allowed to exist in the university is the Students' Union Government, and all teaching and non-teaching staff are expected to resume immediately. Meanwhile, the State Commissioner for Education, Dr. Onyebuchi Chima, meanwhile, the State Commissioner for Education, Dr. Onyebuchi Chima, said the sum of 500 million naira has been approved for the payment of staff salaries, except those who refuse to resume immediately.
In another development, the federal government has been given a 21-day ultimatum to resolve the challenges affecting the staff of federal polytechnics as regards the integrated personnel and payroll information system operations. The zonal coordinator, Sani Ibrahim, Council of Senior Staff Association of Polytechnics in Nigeria, Zone B, made the announcement after a zonal meeting in Bali, Taraba State on Wednesday. Its zonal secretary, Adamu, noted inconsistencies in the release of third-party deductions, high tax regime on salary, delay in the release of 2018-2019 promotion arrears, non-payment of minimum wage arrears as part of the challenges on the platform. The federal government was also called on to speed up actions on the reconstitution of the governing councils for the polytechnics because the tenure of the last governing councils had expired since May last year.
In Abia State, Commissioner for Trade and Investment Cosmos Ndukwe says plans by a group of hoodlums to hide under the guise of protest to raise markets in the state has been uncovered. Ndukwe, who made this known today, explained that the hoodlums have formed themselves into large groups of 200 and advancing to the markets, particularly Ariaria International Market in Aba. He urged members of the Market Management Committee and security agencies to be at alert to avert this proposed crime so as not to record more losses. Similarly, Governor Okezie Ikpeazu has urged parents to advise their children to stand down at the End SARS protest in order to allow peace to reign and ensure that personal and collective grievances will certainly be peacefully resolved.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has postponed by-elections scheduled for the October 31st this year in 6 senatorial districts in 9 state constituencies. INEC made the announcement on its official Twitter handle on Thursday and noted that this is due to the current security situation in some parts of the country following the continuous End SARS protests. The Commission has also appealed for calm and understanding of the stakeholders and voters in the states where the elections are expected to hold.
In the meantime, the federal government has denied reports of the COVID-19 palliatives discovered in a warehouse in Lagos State, saying the items were not from it. Special Assistant to the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Neka Anibweze, who made this known on Thursday, said the items were donated by a coalition of some non-governmental organizations. Photos and videos have been circulating on social media showing bags of rice and other items marked Lagos State Government and CACOVID. CACOVID is short for Coalition Against COVID-19, a private sector-led task force in partnership with the federal government, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control (NCDC) and the World Health Organization (WHO), aimed at fighting the spread of COVID-19 in Nigeria.
The National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Mongono, retired, says President Muhammadu Buhari has directed security agencies to operate within the confines of the law in addressing the violence going on in some parts of the country. Mongono said this yesterday at the end of a meeting of the National Security Council presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari. According to him, the riots have taken a different and unwanted dimension since the government started to address the demands of the protesters. Mongono added that it is not the president's desire to witness loss of lives and would ensure that things do not get out of control.
The Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria has condemned the loss of some of their petrol tankers following repeated attacks on their trucks by hoodlums who hijacked the End SARS protest. Public Relations Officer Ipman Chinedu Ukadike said some angry protesters had begun attack 3 petrol-laden trucks and burnt the oil tankers on Thursday in Warri, Delta State. Oil marketers had asked petroleum tanker drivers to temporarily suspend the movement of petrol, diesel, liquefied petroleum gas, among others, as a result of End SARS protests in some parts of the nation to avoid any disaster. The federal government was called on to dialogue with protesters, and protests should be carried out in designated areas to avoid the destruction of public infrastructure.
And still in business, President of the Integrated Fund for Agricultural Development, Gilbert Huongbo, has called on governments to invest in women in rural areas. Huongbo said this yesterday in commemoration of the International Day of Rural Women. He noted that the global food supply is at risk if governments do not begin to patronize women in the rural areas during the COVID-19 pandemic, as they play vital roles in growing our food and building thriving economies. On the foreign scene, Ivory Coast, the opposition party has rejected the government's plan to reform the Electoral Commission ahead of next week's election. Earlier this month, the main opposition candidates, former President Henry Konan Bedi and former Prime Minister Pascal Affi Ngosam, announced a boycott of the election. Ivory Coast President Alassane Ouattara is vying for a 3rd term, but his candidature has generated controversy and caused unrest in the country. Meanwhile, the United Nations has expressed concern over ongoing violence in Ivory Coast, which has reportedly left at least 7 people dead and more than 40 injured.
And quickly to sports, new Chelsea signing Hakim Ziyech has spoken of his relief that he waited for his big move to Stamford Bridge rather than joining Arsenal or Barcelona 2 years ago. The Moroccan international winger had previously talked of a dream switch from Ajax to the Gunners of the Catalan Giants, but neither move materialized. Ziyech stayed in Amsterdam and helped Ajax reach the 2019 Champions League semi-finals before joining Chelsea for reported 37 million euros in the summer transfer window as part of an expensive influx of new talent. Now the 27-year-old is happily installed at Stamford Bridge and is chasing full fitness after a knee problem. He admitted his delight at holding out for his big Premier League switch, which is a great one for Chelsea as well.
Yeah, you know I'm a blue.
Oh, you are a blue.
And
Congratulations.
I'm sure that's not good news for you. You're a Liverpool.
Yes, I'm a Liverpool fan. But you know what? Congratulations to him. We still have a game to play with Chelsea, so we're going to see what he has to bring to the table.
He will be all right before then.
Hopefully, he should be all right.
All right, then. That's the news at noon on 92.5 Enugu's Dream FM. Do stay safe and stay out of trouble. Also join our news desk every weekday at 6 a.m., 10 a.m., 12 noon, 6 p.m., and on Saturdays at 12 noon.
Thomas Dawan.